All right, so a lot of you are probably familiar with Candace Owens, polarizing figure. I think everyone who watches this content, if you clicked on this video, you know who Candace Owens is. She's someone that has said a lot of dumb shit over the years. Anti-trans stuff, anti-gay stuff, anti-marginalized community stuff. She just grifts. I know a lot of you hate that word, but that's what it is. And that's what she does. And she's had her channel demonetized so many times on YouTube. Like, it's just wild how often that's happened. She also was suspended from YouTube. I think her channel's back now, but she was suspended for a while from YouTube for all of this anti-trans rhetoric, which, by the way, I know it still happens. I'm not trying to diminish the amount of issues that trans people have to deal with. The same with like queer people in general. But a lot of the grifters are finding out that there isn't a lot of money doing that anymore. So they're not really making that much content that's anti-trans. Which is, it's good that they're not doing it, but it doesn't take away from the fact that they saw anti-trans rhetoric as a commodity where they could make money off of it. And that's absolutely disgusting. However, we had this clip today, and this was taken from TikTok, and then it was posted to Twitter. I'm going to show it here on screen, but it was taken from TikTok, then like reposted to everybody's favorite platform, Twitter/X. So I do apologize for the quality of it, but primarily we just want to listen to this clip. We want to listen to what this person is saying. And they're talking about native two-spirit people. But a lot of the people who are anti-trans, anti-queer, they don't know anything about this because they don't bother to research the stuff that they're talking about. It's not beneficial for them. It's a waste of time. It's easier to just say a bunch of things that aren't true and hateful stuff than it is to actually provide any real context to what they're saying. So we're going to watch this clip, and then we're going to talk about it. And I just want to give a trigger warning. Candace is extremely disgusting in her response to this person. It says here, Candace Owens responded to a young woman challenging Owens' anti-trans rants by pointing out Native American two-people spirit existed. Owens goes off on her, calling Native Americans cannibals and drug users. Shocking, racist, and vile. And yeah, so trigger warning for this. Let's listen to it. It's a short clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. But yeah, here we go.
I'm wondering, there are dozens of words for two-spirited people, people that would now be considered LGBTQ or trans people in the native languages. So I'd like to know how, as these people have existed for thousands of years before you were alive or anyone else in this room was alive, and before anyone even colonized America.
Valid question. Absolutely valid question.
If trans people were around then, I'm just wondering why you think it is that trans people are only here now because the media is telling people these things.
Okay, so before she answers, I want to say that, and I want to explain this because I think this is really important. The reason why we're seeing more trans people and more queer people now is because they have access to information. Information is power. Information, knowledge, understanding, all of these things help people. They help people get through things that they are struggling with. Sexuality, gender identity is a struggle because the mainstream world, people like Candace and people who are conservative, do not want that kind of material to be out there, which is why they're banning books. They don't want people to talk about this in schools and stuff. They're doing that because they don't want that stuff to exist, because it's easier for them to just say, if we don't give people access to information, it keeps people stupid and it makes people easily controlled. It is about control. It's about oppression. And access to that information allows people to figure out what's going on with them and then make their lives better. That is the purpose of providing that information. They will not say that because that doesn't fit along with their narrative and their grift, because that's what it is for them. So let's see what she has to say here about two-spirit native people of the Americas.
Well, do you think it's weird that I graduated with 0 trans people? Do you think, what do you think has contributed to the explosion of transgender people from the time that I was in high school? I'll ask you a question back. If this was just a natural thing, and I don't know what you're talking about with two-spirit people, is this like a Native American tribe, like high smoking and talking about your spirit?
Okay. So instead of giving, like, she's so triggered by this question, her response to this, the way she's responding to this person, tells me that she is extremely triggered by this. And yeah, saying that the two-spirit thing is about them getting high It's just giving triggered. That's what it is. It's giving triggered.
I'm asking you seriously, because when I think of Native American tribes talking about their spirits, I know that they used to smoke a lot. They used to do drugs. They also were cannibals who used to eat people. So I don't know if we should be taking our cues from cannibals. But
I think
can you
that's
explain
kind
to me
of
what Two-Spirit
ridiculous.
is in the history?
There are people that would now be considered trans people that did not feel that they fit the
What
binary
part, though?
gender.
Native Americans? I'm asking you.
Yes, I'm telling you that not only in one Native American tribe, but in multiple tribes, there were dozens of terms that referred to people that would now be considered trans. And that was hundreds of years ago. So I'm just wondering why you think that people are only trans now because the media is telling them to be.
Well, I told you, because of the proliferation. So you can't just go from having 0% to suddenly 25%
But what
of
I'm
people.
saying is that these people were around for thousands of years.
Well, what you're saying is that some Native American tribes had people that would be considered trans today, something that we can't fact check because they're dead.
It's
right?
Historical knowledge.
It's historical
documented.
knowledge that there were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
I really don't think that's historical knowledge, but here's what I'll answer. I don't think that there were
well, I'm telling you
trans
that
Native
there
Americans.
Were, so if you could educate yourself a little more, you would know that.
Okay. I will educate myself.
Ooh, that was a good burn, by the way. That was a really good burn. That was a lot of like anti-trans dog whistly, anti-Native American, just full on racist stuff from Candace, which shouldn't be a big shocker, right? Shouldn't be a big shocker. Let's look up Two-Spirit here quickly on Wiki for people that may not be familiar with it. And I'm just going to read the beginning of this so you will understand what the person asking the question was referring to. And I would implore you, if you are somebody who is under the umbrella and you don't know about this, it is really good to go and make sure you're aware of Two-Spirit people. And if you're somebody who is just uneducated on queer stuff in general, I think it's important to add this to a list of things that you probably should look up. Okay, here we go. Two-Spirit, also known as Two-Spirit or occasionally Two-Spirited, is a modern pan-Indian umbrella term used by some indigenous North Americans to describe people in their communities who fulfill a traditional third gender or gender variant ceremonial and social rule in their culture. So it's a cultural thing. And it does represent what a modern concept of what trans would be. But back then they didn't really have the same understanding we have now of what transness is. So the Two-Spirit role was fulfilled by a third gender within tribes. And this is something that happened all over the place. Tribes that never had any contact with each other did have this concept of a third or additional gender within their communities. And I just think it's important to understand that when we talk about society and the way people look at culture, that seeing someone outside of what a binary isn't like a boogie person. It isn't something that you should see as this hateful, harmful thing, because ultimately that person and how they live their lives doesn't have a lot to do with you and your personal life. That's just how they're living their lives. And this weird sense of being attacked from these conservative people who hate trans people, hate gay people, is just such a weird thing. Like, if you look at it from the opposite way, should trans people and gay people be afraid that they're being attacked by the values of straight people and cis people? It's a weird take. It's really weird. But this is just a reminder that Candace Owens is absolutely transphobic on full display. There's no denying that. Candace Owens says, does, and acts out on transphobia every single day. And you ask me what someone looks like who's transphobic, how can you tell? That video is a prime example of how a transphobic person responds to people questioning their interest when it comes to trans people.